They don't possibly prepare you for live streams like today, whether you went to broadcasting school, whether you went to football school, you name it. You just get on and go and press live after 18 years at the helm in Baltimore. John Harbaugh is out as head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Adam Schefter and the rest of the insider crew all over the national level reporting that, according to their sources, after 18 years, the second longest tenured head coach in the league is out in Baltimore, instantly reacting to news that I know many within this fan base have been calling for. And you always choose the franchise quarterback who is in his prime over the head coach. A reset is on in Baltimore, and they will now begin their search for just their fourth head coach in the history of this storied franchise. John's resume, as you can see, 18 seasons. He finishes with a record of 180 wins to 113 losses. The postseason record, 13-11, 2 games above 500, but obviously has underachieved since winning the Super Bowl in the 2012-2013 campaign over a decade ago. Yes, that Super Bowl title, of course, will always be fondly remembered and celebrated, as will he be. But sometimes change is a necessary evil in order to get where you have yet to go in the era that has been Lamar Jackson. 8 years since they drafted Lamar 32nd overall, overhauled their offense, and built around a player that so many passed on that April night back in 2018. They've built Lamar Jackson into a bona fide superstar, and it was nothing short of successful in the regular season over the last 8 years. In the postseason, in the Lamar Jackson era, under John Harbaugh's watch, there has been underperformance. There has been a lack of execution. And they have lost in a variety of ways. The most recent chapter, of course, coming Sunday night in Pittsburgh, which ended up being John Harbaugh's last game coaching the Baltimore Ravens. He will be a coveted candidate around the league. There's no question about that. And there are several vacancies out there that I'm sure will have interest in a guy who wins. And he does win. And I wish the best for him. It was an honor to cover John Harbaugh. And certainly, the Ravens will miss him. But Steve Bisciotti made a decision. I commend him for making an extremely difficult decision given the circumstances, but ultimately the writing was on the wall. And if there's one statistic that comes to mind that ultimately was and is the demise of John Harbaugh, it's fourth quarter deficits, meaning fourth quarter leads that they lost themselves in. It's underperformance in the postseason. And it's statistics like you're about to see on the screen, courtesy of the First Things First broadcast crew. Games decided by 5 points or less were routinely, repeatedly The Ravens have come up short under John Harbaugh. This season, they were winless in games decided by 5 points or less. And under John Harbaugh, they were 45-61 in that category. The 61 losses are the most in the National Football League since 2008, and that is when John Harbaugh was brought in from Philadelphia to succeed Brian Billick. And now, 18 years later, the Ravens are in the market for a new head coach. The guest lines are open. I want to get your thoughts on this. Super chats have come in as well. There will be a slew of candidates you can imagine that the Ravens might have interest in. And at the end of the day, Steve Bisciotti has spoken. He has chosen his in prime, peak of his powers, franchise quarterback who is in desperate need, the Ravens are, of extending him this offseason and moving forward, much like other greats have had, right? With a new head coach. We've seen this with Andy Reid. We've seen this with Doug Peterson. We've seen this with past Super Bowl winning head coaches that moved on to other opportunities. Ben Roethlisberger saw it in Pittsburgh, from Coach Cowher to Mike Tomlin. And now Tomlin stands atop the league in terms of longest tenure, just as he did prior to this, but no one else is closer to him. 19 years. He'll, of course, after beating the Ravens on Sunday night, compete in Super Wild Card weekend against the Houston Texans. And boy, oh boy, does it come down to inches. We wouldn't be having this conversation had Tyler Loop not pushed that ball right. But who knows? Perhaps this was the decision and the vision all along, assuming that they didn't make a significant run in the postseason. John, of course, had just signed an extension this past offseason. He had 3 years left on his deal. But Steve Bisciotti made a decision that certainly is in the best interest of this franchise, is in the best interest of their superstar quarterback. And who knows? Maybe it's in the best interest of John Harbaugh. The grass certainly ain't always greener on the other side, but he's going to get his opportunity and be a coveted candidate around the league. There's no doubt about that. Wes Hall has gotten us started with the super chats, and Wes writes, I'm running through a brick wall again today, Bobby. I'm fired up, but on the opposite side of last night. Let's effing go. Ziad writes, am I dreaming? Send Brian Flores our way, EDC. Deshaun Davis says, I can peacefully watch Ravens football all of next year. I think what we're all old enough to remember what Steve Bisciotti told the Ravens Productions Lounge podcast in their off-season sit-down interview. He said, quote, I want to win now. I don't give a damn about 30 years from now. I really don't. And he stood on business and made a very difficult decision with the organization's interest best served. First name, last name says, be careful what you wish for, flock. Goose Lex says, I used to pray for times like this. I reply to dummies says, it's about damn time. Call Brian Flores. TD says, good riddance. We need a regime change, and that's exactly what you're getting. John Harbaugh, we are instantly reacting to breaking news, and it's a historic piece of news that after 18 years at the helm in Baltimore, he has been dismissed as the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Stanley Leonard said it was just that time. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. My waiting room is already at full capacity. Reaction is pouring in. I thought I was going to have a live stream about the interest that Todd Monken is garnering both at the collegiate and pro levels. But instead, obviously, we pivot and we talk about something that perhaps had been brewing for a while in the mind of team owner Steve Bisciotti. Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, noting that Steve Bisciotti spent all day meeting with John Harbaugh. It was a, quote, very honest, very open conversation that was, quote, quite difficult at times. And in the end, Steve makes a decision with, again, the organization in mind. This is one of those multitask live streams as we get you up to the second information as we await more context in what led to this decision by Steve Bisciotti and where the Ravens will go from here. Josina Anderson noting that Dolphins ownership has expressed an affinity for John Harbaugh. And it was just yesterday that Ian O'Connor noted that the Giants have had internal conversations about John Harbaugh. They'll be two of the many that have vacancies and that are ready to go and give John Harbaugh a look at potentially coming in to turn around their respective franchises. The conversation will turn at some point throughout this live stream in terms of candidates that are potentially in play for Steve Bisciotti and his hiring crew, assuming that Eric DeCosta is being retained to succeed John Harbaugh and become the fourth head coach in franchise history. Daniel Jeremiah, former Ravens scout, noting that Jesse Minter deserves a look, the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers under Jim Harbaugh. I would look at Robert Saleh. I think he deserves another opportunity after all the dysfunction that he had to deal with in New York as the head coach of the Jets. He's a defensive-minded coach. And while obviously you want to maximize Lamar Jackson's strengths and have an offensive mind in your building, more than anything, you need a reset for what's made you the organization that's universally respected. And that's getting back to the defensive side of the football. Dan Orlovsky calling for Anthony Weaver, a former assistant under John Harbaugh that's the defensive coordinator in Miami. There will be plenty of conversations about candidates. This is easily, far and away, the most attractive job that's out there at the moment when you look league-wide. Stanley says it was just that time. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Dreams writes, Mike Mack has the number one seed with Sam Darnold. John had Lamar and trusted his rookie kicker to win the division. Change was needed. Juice Man Bond says, I didn't know if I had it in me to watch another season of continued Ravens ineptitude. Happy the fans and the team are getting a fresh start. Jaquarius is here dropping in super chats. Appreciate you, Jay. LSC says, Bobby, we need Sarah for tomorrow. Hallelujah. Perhaps she will come out of semi-retirement. She's currently in the tropics on vacation, a pre-scheduled vacation. She's got to be thinking to herself, how could this have happened? I had these plans in place. Ziad writes, you deserve another $1.99 for Steve doing us correct. Rude Boy to Rude says the next question is Baltimore the most coveted head coaching job in the NFL right now? For my money, absolutely. You have a team that's ready to win now, that is underachieved, that is underperformed in the postseason, and that needs an organizational reset. Day Cards has left us a super chat today. JL Green writes, our new head coach really shouldn't be decided until at least during the AFC Championship in order to consider prospective coaches of winning teams. Dreams writes, an early birthday gift for Lamar Jackson. Mina Kimes writing, the Ravens instantly become the most appealing head coach in all of football. I would strongly consider Brian Flores if I were them. Dark Thunder 35 says EDC pulled a Judas, and I'm willing to bet Mike McDonald's success costed this front office to finally look in the mirror. Day Day Cards also writes, what do you guys think of the Notre Dame coach, Marcus Freeman? Goose says, God bless Steven Tyler Loop. And David Rice says, my pick is Clint Kubiak. Daniel Jeremiah notes that Chargers assistant general manager Chad Alexander has worked with John and Jim Harbaugh. It would be very tempting to pair Chad and John up to run an organization, proof of concept already in place. Reaction is pouring in across the league right now. And the same thing for you guys. Sharu says the best news we have had all year. After 18 years at the helm in Baltimore, we are instantly breaking down. John Harbaugh out, dismissed after a full day of meeting with team owner Steve Bisciotti. They are moving in a different direction. And perhaps what you see up on the screen is one of the reasons as to why. In games that were decided by 5 points or less since 2008, under John Harbaugh's watch, the Ravens were 45-61. Those 61 losses are the most league-wide since 2008 when he was hired, and this season they were winless in such games. When you combine that with underwhelming postseason resume since the Super Bowl and the inability to overcome those shortcomings, in this month, the most important month of the NFL calendar, ultimately change becomes the necessary evil, and that is where we stand right now. Flip with Terry says John's lack of game feel was what got him fired. Should have ran one more play, but of course, no game feel. That's certainly another knock of John's that you'll look back on when you evaluate him in game management, clock management over the years. And certainly when you look at the statistic on the screen, that tells part of the story. Jaquarius writes, next season is going to be very interesting. I'm ready to see who we get. And I so you, Bobby and Sarah, for what you guys do. We appreciate you, Jay, for being with us. It's notable that Cliff Kingsbury, if the Ravens want to go in an offensive direction, it's notable that Cliff Kingsbury, the play caller in Washington, was relieved of his duties today. He was the former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals and certainly was exceptional in year one with Jaden Daniels last year, where they were way ahead of schedule and played in a conference championship game. He has been let go. He will unquestionably get a bunch of interest. Nuno has a dark horse, and it's Kevin Stefanski. Clint Kubiak is another one of his options. Kush Renata writes, I'm betting that Zach Orr's time is near as well. Kush, the next head coach gets to bring in his entire staff. So barring something unpredictable, both coordinators are gone. Diana Rossini noting that a key pressure point in the John Harbaugh dismissal was his refusal to entertain any conversations about potentially moving on from offensive coordinator Todd Monken. Let me read that again for you. A key pressure point in the John Harbaugh dismissal was his refusal to entertain any conversations about potentially moving on from Todd Monken. Wow, as I read this, that is stunning. Todd was the least of their concerns in Baltimore. If you had to choose between coordinators, for me, it starts and ends with Zach, but I'd have to think that Lamar Jackson, that's a Lamar Jackson report right there without actually Lamar being named specifically. So again, a key pressure point, according to Diana Rossini, is that John Harbaugh's refusal to entertain any conversations about potentially moving on from Todd Monken was a key point in the riff in what clearly ended up becoming what looks to be a full day of meeting and deliberation between Harbaugh and team owner Steve Bisciotti. This is fascinating. Fascinating as we instantly react to more nuance and context that comes out across the NFL world right now. Raekwon says Mike McDaniel will unlock a lot out of Lamar. Perhaps Mike, if he does get relieved of his duties in Miami, would be an option as a play caller. Wildlife Wale says if EDC doesn't upgrade the offensive line, nothing will change. I am fascinated. I'm fascinated by this, what Diana Rossini just tweeted. Dinero Tranquillo says, give Harbaugh his flowers, but like many things in life, things must change. Fresh air, fresh start. Ty Riggs writes, EDC is next. Get the F out of here. Let's go. C-Mac writes, Bisciotti with the Thanos snap. Kaifi Profin writes, the chat knows I've shouted Flores all year. Go get him. Brian Flores certainly going to be an attractive option in this hiring cycle now that the NFL regular season is behind us. Hayes0939 says it's going to be either Kubiak, Minter, or Flores as our next head coach. And Steve writes, Todd was 30th in red zone efficiency. And there's no way around that, Steve. But I think that's more of an offensive line statistic. Let's open up the guest lines. And now more than ever, guys, I need you to be respectful and acknowledge the 60-second timer in an effort to get as many voices in as possible so that I can continue to serve you guys with the most up-to-date, power-packed content show. The collective will be on in 2 hours and 17 minutes, and perhaps we can get Sarah to join us tomorrow. But again, please be mindful of your 60 seconds. Concise, quick, and thoughtful. Let's open them up in chronological order. I appreciate you guys for being here. DeBruz, you're getting us started, my brother. Good to see you, man.
What's going on, family? How you doing? I'm going to say Josh McDaniels, man, he's going to get a look. What he's doing with Drake May in his second year, I think that, he's a viable candidate. And Brian Flores, man, I think that is the one. We need someone, like you said, that's going to rebuild, one that's going to dominate on one side of the ball. And the two people I mentioned, they both dominate. So if the offense is fluttering, McDaniels can at least have some input on what the offensive coordinator is doing. If the defense is fluttering, Flores can have some input on what's going on. My biggest question is, because they're trying to appease Lamar outside of this, are they willing to keep T. Martin, who Lamar loves, and give him the opportunity to at least be the quarterback coach or possibly the offensive coordinator, which he was doing in Tennessee? Not sure, but there also has to be some concessions made to keep Lamar happy, who was a $70 million hit. So that's my opinion, but then that's my toss back to you, Bobby. What do you think about that?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm multitasking. I need you to absolutely reset the clock and repeat everything you just said, because I'm looking at reports that are coming in. It's that kind of day. DeBruz, okay. Run it back once more and go ahead and repeat that.
So what I said was Josh McDaniels and Brian Flores. I think those are the picks for me. You need a coach that's going to be able to dominate on one side of the ball. If the defense is fluttering, you know what Flores could do, and the offense is fluttering, you know what McDaniels could do, especially with seeing what he's done with Drake May in year 2. My biggest question on the thing I threw back to you is there has to be some concessions made to keep Lamar happy also. How much input will he have in the coaching search? And he loves T. Martin, loves him. He spoke very highly of him. I thought that T. Martin was possibly in line for offensive coordinator position. But with that, I know the coach brings everybody in. What do you think about that? Where Lamar would say, hey, if we get Flores, but I really want T. Martin as the offensive coordinator. What do you think will happen with that?
Yeah, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to answer that right now. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks to brother.
All right.
And that's why I was just reacting the way that I was to the Diana Rossini report, right? And I'm going to go ahead and bring that up here in just a second. This is what's so fascinating to me. A key pressure point in the Harbaugh dismissal was his refusal to entertain any conversations about potentially moving on from OC Todd Monken. And I got to wonder how much of that was Lamar Jackson's influence in the other side of the spectrum. Did Lamar Jackson have an opinion about his working relationship with Todd Monken? And was that somewhat of a breaking point? So absolutely, I think Lamar is going to be involved here. Heck, Lamar's had a key role in Eric DeCosta's ear over the years when it comes to drafting wide receivers. So you better believe he's going to have a level of influence in this search, I would think. And while that's a level of speculation after seeing Diana Rossini's tweet, the cards kind of match up, don't they? Olu writes, I need Femi and Sarah with Sip to Tally for a hands-on deck reaction. Fourth coach is crazy work. I appreciate Harbs for the 2 rings that he gave us. 2? 20 Baltimore 52 says, love this. Clean house, Marlowe and 77/72 next. Nikita writes, Robert Saleh is a culture fit. That's my pick. Reestablish how you've built this organization from the ground up. Reestablish what the Ravens stand for and are built on. And that's the defensive side of the ball. Wes writes, Cundiff's miss hurt, but he's a hero for getting us Tucker. Bow down to Tyler Loop for this one. Wes is rejoicing after kicking rocks all day yesterday. Over 6,500 concurrents and counting in a jam-packed historic program. John Harbaugh is out as the Ravens head coach after 18 years at the helm. I'm efforting to try and get Jimmy Smith on here for an instant reaction. We'll see if he's able to carve out some time to get as many voices in here as possible. Again, it is chronological. The waiting room is stacked. It is at its capacity. If you're waiting to get in and you're getting denied, just know that every time someone departs, one other slot opens up. Brian, welcome to the program. 60 seconds starts now.
What's happening, Bobby? How you doing?
Good to see you, man.
I got mixed feelings, dude. Mixed feelings. 18 years of Harbaugh isn't something to laugh about or something to like, So it's Robert Saleh. I don't know about that guy, and you're talking about San Francisco, right? He's the
DC under Shanahan in San Francisco, and as you probably remember, he was the head coach of the Jets.
Yes. Right. Brian Flores. I'm here in Boca right now, South Florida. So I see what I don't know. I don't know. It's just mixed feelings because there's not. I don't know who's out there. Who's out there that's going to fit something like that's going to go the distance? More than 5 years, more than 8 years, more than 10 years. Baltimore, just like Pittsburgh, only had so many coaches, and that's a testament to the organization. And that's what you want to look for. You don't want some guy coming in, just going to be like gone with the wind, Anyway, thanks a lot, brother.
Ryan, thank you, brother. And I get it, right? This feels different, doesn't it? This feels strange, but maybe it feels inevitable. And maybe, just maybe, this gets the Ravens to where they've been unable to go in the Lamar Jackson era. Maybe, just maybe, an organizational reset. It's not a rebuild. It's a reset, which makes this far and away, the most attractive, coveted job out there because they have their core intact from a personnel standpoint. And that's not to say that they don't have major voids to fill. They do, and they have to. But when you have your franchise quarterback pending an extension that has to get done this offseason, when you have the equivalent of him on the opposite side in Kyle Hamilton done in Baltimore for the foreseeable future, when you've locked in one of the top nose guards in the league in Travis Jones for the foreseeable future, when you've got young players, promising players that need to be developed in Mike Green, in Malachi Starks, in Nate Wiggins on the defensive side of the ball, when you've got a young, productive back-to-back 1,000-plus yard receiving seasons and a target in Zay Flowers who has a rapport with Lamar Jackson that needs an extension. That's part of the core that's intact. Mark Andrews has underwhelmed in the postseason and certainly was uninvolved as a pass catcher on Sunday night in Pittsburgh. But that's Lamar's security blanket. That's his safety valve. He's got better football ahead of him. He's not going anywhere. This is the most coveted job in football, period. And now it's up to Steve Bisciotti to do what he does best. Hire the right person. John Harbaugh is out in Baltimore, and we are instantly reacting to the biggest news across the National Football League on Tuesday, January 6th of 2026. JG says, is that where the news of potential coordinator changes coming changed because Harbaugh refused to let them go? Perhaps. Lewis says Flores, Saleh, Minter, Kubiak would be the top four of his candidates. We will absolutely start to have that conversation as this live stream continues. Jeff Zrebeck, my co-host on The Collective, tweets that as of midday today, several people around the Ravens felt that John Harbaugh would be returning. His conversations today with team owner Steve Bisciotti yielded a different result. This is fascinating as more details start to work their way into the Twitter sphere. Daniel Jeremiah talking about the candidate that is Jesse Minter, young, promising defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers under Jim Harbaugh. Zayad writes, Flo got above 500 with Fitzpatrick and Tua. You think he would with 8? Dre Dog is celebrating 1 month of channel membership, and he writes, I'm shocked it came out as him being fired. I thought for sure it would be a mutual parting of ways. Steve Bisciotti is sending a message. And here comes the statement from Steve Bisciotti as we speak right now. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up, and it is in detail. This is a detailed response from Steve Bisciotti, who just released the following statement that I'm going to bring up right now. If you're holding, continue to hold. This is one of those episodes where we got to be as thorough as possible, leaving no stone unturned. Here is the statement as released by the Ravens organization moments ago from Steve Bisciotti after 18 years with John Harbaugh as his head coach. Here's what he has to say. Following a comprehensive evaluation of the season and the overall direction of our organization, I decided to make a change at head coach. Today, I informed John that he has been relieved of his duties. This was an incredibly difficult decision, given the tremendous 18 years we have spent together and the profound respect I have for John as a coach, and most importantly, as a great man of integrity. Throughout what I firmly believe is a Hall of Fame coaching career, John has delivered a Super Bowl championship to Baltimore and served as a steadfast pillar of humility and leadership. He and his family have deeply embedded themselves in this community. For these profound contributions on and off the field, we should all be forever grateful. Our goal has been and always will be to win championships. We strive to consistently perform at the highest level on the field and be a team and organization our fans can take pride in. I will always be grateful for the extraordinary hard work and dedication displayed by John and his staff throughout the many successful years. I wish he, Ingrid, and Ellison all the best going forward. We now begin the challenging but exciting process of identifying the next leader of our football team. We fully understand the expectations of our fans and everyone in the Ravens organization. Finding another strong leader and partner who will reflect these high standards is paramount. We deeply appreciate our fans and will continue to work relentlessly to bring them our city and the extended community the success that they deserve. Team owner Steve Bisciotti released the following statement, as you just heard, regarding John Harbaugh's dismissal. And here comes John Harbaugh's statement as well, as I work to bring this up. It's all happening in real time. I appreciate you guys for being with me. The waiting room is currently at its capacity. And John Harbaugh's farewell statement making its way onto the screen as we speak. First, it was Bisciotti, and now here's John Harbaugh's parting words. Well, I was hoping for a different kind of message on my last day here someday, but that day has come today. It comes with disappointment, certainly, but more with gratitude and appreciation. Gratitude to the owner and organization who was willing to bring in a head coach who made his mark with special team success. A difficult thing to do. An appreciation for all the moments, all these years that are etched into eternity. I hope a legacy built on faith, always fighting, always believing. Values built into an organization through a team that are worthwhile, good and lasting, and that are admired by fans and foes alike. Meaningful and impactful relationships with players through the years that I will cherish always. Grateful for their strength and courage. Loyal partnerships is this wonderful building. And I should say in this wonderful building that grew into strong friendships through the toil and tempest of the job every day. Mostly to my treasured family, my Ingrid, and my Ellison. It's emotional. Jeez. Who are beyond compare in every way. And the loves of my life and my close-knit family and good friends who stick with you no matter what. Finally, to the author and finisher of our faith, gratitude for a journey beyond anything I could have dreamed of on my own. All is well with my soul because of the good God who guides and sustains me. That from John Harbaugh. And something that is undeniable is what Jeff Zaribak just tweeted in response to reading this statement. There's no ambiguity with the statements here. This wasn't a mutual decision. And that is the latest fascinating layer of what's led to today's breaking news. Is that John Harbaugh, after 18 years in Baltimore, 18 years as the head coach of one of the most storied organizations in all of pro sports, is out. And the search is on. Steve Bisciotti will look to hire the fourth head coach in his organization's history. And I, like the rest of you, over 8,200 concurrents and counting, am still very much processing this. This is beyond fascinating. Rude Boy to Rude says the next question is, how quick can you get Lamar's contract done to get your new head coach, or does it matter? Lamar's not going anywhere. You got to get it done. But I don't believe that has an impact on the search. Ryan John says I can watch Ravens football in 2026. Justin says Bieniemy could be a sleeper pick, at least that offensive coordinator. Clinton says the boycott is off. Let's see who they bring in. Flores or Kubiak are my thoughts. Let's effing go. DITBC says, Bobby, on a scale of 1 to F my life, how pissed are you that Sarah can't share this day with you on air today? This is a monumental day for the flock. I'm trying to do it all at once, my man. She's in a pre-scheduled vacation. But I see her tweets that are happening as we speak right now. So you already know she had to come out of hibernation to react to this. She's got a Super Bowl ring, for goodness sakes. This means something to her. There's no question about that. And she's on record for sharing just how much she reveres and respects John Harbaugh, as do I. Juan Torres says we need to go get Brian Flores and Jay Jettas. Justin Jefferson from Minnesota as soon as possible. Sizzle Sack 55 says, love Harbaugh. Met him on Make-A-Wish. He's a good man. Yes, he is. Dark Thunder 35 says Harbaugh's comments downplaying Super Bowl expectations before the season contradicted Steve's comments on wanting to win with Lamar and EDC. If you're just tuning in, John Harbaugh has been dismissed as head coach of the Baltimore Ravens after 18 years. He met with Steve Bisciotti, according to reports, for the better half of today. And clearly, when you watch and read and process the two statements that have been released, this was not a mutual decision. And off we go as the instant reaction to the biggest news in pro sports continues. Back to the guest lines we go. 60 seconds if you could continue to respect the timing element of tonight and how sensitive this is. And my desire to get as many voices in and out of here as possible. We go to Olu. Olu, let me know when you're ready to roll, brother.
Yeah.
Welcome to the program. Your thoughts?
Man, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Man, it's a little mixed, man. Fourth coach, to be the three coaches in one organization is a strong stability, man. This is, you know, in the language that was used, the firing part, that's crazy because that's not what we do. We always mutual parting of ways or whatever. Also, man, I feel like if we get an offensive coach, that'll be appeasing Lamar, which would be cool. But our defense was really offensive line was our problem, but defense was our problem. I think we need to get a defensive coach with a young offensive mind. I do like the guy from Minnesota, but it has to be somebody who has a voice. We can't go too crazy young and be in the same position. We don't want to be a rotating door. That's all I got, man. Y'all have a good one.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the call, man. Olu on the way out as we open up the guest lines. They are at full capacity right now. John Harbaugh's time in Baltimore has come to an end after 18 years as the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Former Cowboys coach and NBC analyst Jason Garrett will interview for the Tennessee Titans and their vacant head coach position. We all remember the story there back in the day, right? The decision that the Ravens organization made back in 2008. I want to get to as many of your super chats as I can as they come in. Zayad writes, do you know how early EDC or Steve will do a presser? I have no idea. All this is happening very, very quickly, and we're trying our best. I'm trying my best to wrap my head around this and do it justice. And let me tell you, how fascinating is this from Diana Rossini? One that I've already read, but it warrants repeat. A key pressure point in the John Harbaugh dismissal, according to those familiar with today's discussion that Diana has been in touch with, was his refusal to entertain any conversations about potentially moving on from offensive coordinator Todd Monken. Absolutely fascinating. Adam Schefter just now. John Harbaugh is expected to emerge as a favorite for the head coaching job of the New York Giants. They moved on from Brian Daboll in season. Mike Kafka was the interim. There's a lot to like about the way the Giants are built for the future. They have their quarterback of the future. They have a lot of picks coming up in this month in April's draft. Perhaps John Harbaugh could be going to the Big Apple should he want to continue his coaching career. Diana also wrote that amid recent league-wide buzz about Cliff Kingsbury's future, many believe that Baltimore, paired with Lamar, would be an ideal landing spot for the now former Commanders offensive coordinator who does have past NFL head coaching experience with the Arizona Cardinals. Back to the guest lines we go. It's chronological order, and I'll continue to reiterate, if you can be as buttoned up as possible for me and get your commentary in within the 60-second time frame, I'd really appreciate it. Trey, welcome back, brother. Your thoughts on a historic, monumental day in Baltimore?
I'm in shock. I mean, we just lost the game on Sunday. Had another Lamar in there. Like, you don't know. Like, this whole situation happened, and I'm pretty excited. Honestly, my question to you is, what are you what you have any beef with? No, I don't think you have beef, but you're like on Brian Flores. Is it just something you don't entertain as much between him and Robert Saleh, or is it just mainly you're a fan of Robert Saleh?
Well, both of their head coaching stints previously obviously did not go to either one of their likings, right?
Yeah.
And was that more about the organizational structure or lack thereof around them? Probably. I have nothing against Brian Flores.
Right.
Certainly not. There's something I like. There's something about Robert Saleh that to me screams Raven. And I'm not saying that Flores doesn't have a level of that as well. They're both defensive-minded coaches, and that's where I think the Ravens need to pivot to.
Yeah.
They need someone who can come in and reestablish their defensive culture that this organization, that this franchise was built on and is revered for.
Yeah.
Because that's lost right now.
Yeah, I believe so, too. That was the reason why I just asked. Because, I mean, thinking about, like, Fitzpatrick and then Tua as your quarterback, you pulled off 2 back-to-back winning records, and then Robert Saleh having, Zach Wilson. I get it. It's a big difference, but I just like that he pulled off 2 winning seasons with a team that was supposed to tank. So I think that's why I think as Raven fan base, that is why a lot of Raven fans kind of think about that in the back of their head, that he pulled off 2 winning seasons with a team that was supposed to tank. And that's why, the lawsuit is. And he didn't have a great team or a great roster at all compared to the Jets having a great defense going into with Robert Saleh. That's the only reason why I have a lot of pushback on Robert Saleh. He had a great defense, and he's a defense guru, and he's not done so well this year against great quarterbacks. So that was the only pushback I had against Robert Saleh. I was just watching him against good quarterbacks. He didn't show up, and then I watched Brian Flores destroy Jared Goff back-to-back games.
Thanks for the call, brother. Appreciate you, Trey. Thanks, my man. Guest lines are open if you guys want to share a thought with me. Jeff Zarebeck, we are going to be live on the Collective tonight, just to be clear. Jeff noting that John Harbaugh didn't have a chance to inform his staff of his firing, and that's proof of how quickly this all went down. Neither side was prepared for this outcome today. Ravens team president, Sashi Brown, and general manager Eric DeCosta informed Harbaugh's staff of his departure. Wow. So as you put this whole thing together, Bisciotti and Harbaugh seemingly met throughout the better half of today. Harbaugh stood tall on something as significant as his desire to retain Todd Monken, which, as Diana Rossini wrote, was one of the pressure points. Ultimately, Steve makes the decision, and then team president Sashi Brown and general manager and executive Eric DeCosta are the ones that end up playing messenger with John Harbaugh's staff. This is about as fascinating and unpredictable as it could possibly get when it comes to Steve Bisciotti and the organization that he runs in Baltimore. The statement, if you're just tuning in, reads as follows from the team owner. Following a comprehensive evaluation of the season and the overall direction of our organization, I decided to make a change at head coach. Today, I informed John that he has been relieved of his duties. This was an incredibly difficult decision, given the tremendous 18 years we have spent together and the profound respect I have for John as a coach and, most importantly, as a great man of integrity. Throughout what I firmly believe is a Hall of Fame coaching career, John has delivered a Super Bowl championship to Baltimore and served as a steadfast pillar of humility and leadership. He and his family have deeply embedded themselves in this community. For these profound contributions on and off the field, we should all forever be grateful. Our goal has always been and always will be to win championships. We strive to consistently perform at the highest level on the field and be a team and organization our fans take pride in. I will always be grateful for the extraordinary hard work and dedication displayed by John and his staff throughout the many successful years. I wish he, Ingrid, and Ellison all the best going forward. We now begin the challenging but exciting process of identifying the next leader of our football team. We fully understand the expectations of our fans and everyone in the Ravens organization. Finding another strong leader and partner who will reflect these high standards is paramount. We deeply appreciate our fans and will continue to work relentlessly to bring them, our city, and the extended community the success that they deserve. That from team owner Steve Bisciotti. Director Mann has hit us with a super chat. Thank you, Director. Jason Carter writes, can't say that he limited Lamar while Lamar's winning or in the running for MVP every year. Don't sound limiting to me. Matt O'Hara says John Gruden, Rex Ryan, wink. Rant and Raven Pod says, interesting that Harbaugh did not mention the fan base. We'll get to his statement in just a bit. And Steve, you're right. The word of the day is fascinating. Chef Trez, wherever you are, go ahead and mark how many times I've used the word fascinating on your bulletin board, because that's what I am right now. I'm fascinated by how this went down. And the fact that John Harbaugh's statement is this, when you juxtapose it against Steve Bisciotti's, makes it very clear that this was not a mutual parting of ways today in Baltimore. The guest lines are smacked right now. I'm getting notifications up the you-know-what about how it's at capacity. So let's get back to them. 60 seconds. Nick, we're coming to you, Nick Marty. The guest line has a pinned comment for you in the live chat if you'd like to access it. I'm trying to track down Jimmy Smith in multitask effort. I'm trying to track down Terrell Suggs and get as many instant reactions from around the Ravens organization as I can on this historic day that now has the Ravens searching for their fourth head coach in franchise history. Nick, welcome to the program.
Bobby, it's been a while. Hey, I just want to let you know, man, it is Christmas all over again. And it's in January because, getting rid of Harbs has been a goal for a while now. And if you look at his track record that Tony Lombardi posted on Twitter, since 2011, we've given up so many leads, so many teams that we've had Super Bowl contenders, and we wasted it. And you know what? I'm hoping to God we get the right coach. I hope we can get somebody that's going to gel with Lamar and the veterans on offense. We need to get trenches. We need to get that right. EDC, his feet are to the fire right now because I'm going to tell you right now, he doesn't address the guards. He doesn't address the D-line, the pass rushing. Then I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to be gone too. And we'll have Ozzie running things again. I'm out.
Nick, thanks, brother. Good stuff. This is the most consequential decision facing this organization in close to 2 decades. They cannot afford to get it wrong. You have to get this decision right. John Harbaugh is out in Baltimore after 18 years, and we're instantly reacting to exactly that. Suntan Superman says need to get Marcus Freeman and give him a blank check. The head coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who pulled out of bowl eligibility this year after being left out of the college football playoff. I think a lot of him. I don't think a lot of that decision. Play. To the guest lines we go. There's a link that's pinned in my live chat if you'd like to share a thought with me. The 60-second timeline is important tonight. We're getting voices in and out as much as we possibly can. Banks 5220. Turn that camera on, brother. We're coming to you. Welcome to the program. Talk to me, brother. Of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who pulled out. Can't do that, Banks. Got to be ready. Oscar, talk to me.
You got me?
I do.
So for some reason, I keep on losing audio. Sorry, my dog's going crazy.
Go
I
ahead,
keep on
man.
losing your audio.
Go ahead. It's
But
all you.
I mean, we talked yesterday. I did not think that this would happen. I am stunned. What a pipe bomb. That's crazy. What I don't want now is any of that Jesse Minter shit. The guy has been in the organization. He's the OC or DC for Harb's brother. I do not want that. Give me Brian Flores. Give me Robot Sala. I'm fine with it. I totally agree with you. We need um, defense first. That's the way it's always been. Yes, Lamar is the biggest attraction we have here, but I don't want Minter because I feel like that would just be out with the old, in with the old.
Thanks,
Not
brother.
my thing.
Appreciate the call, man. I'm sure people can appreciate that sentiment, knowing that
I
this
don't hear you.
Harbaugh,
I can't hear you.
the Harbaugh to Harbaugh tree obviously has worked in some cases and not in others. It certainly worked for Mike Mack when he was sent back to Michigan to serve as the defensive coordinator under Jim Harbaugh for a year, just to be brought back to Baltimore. We all know that he has risen the ranks quickly. But perhaps when you take a look back at John Harbaugh's career, and Adam Schefter noting that in the first 45 minutes after John Harbaugh was fired this afternoon, his agent, Brian Harlan, said he received calls from 7 NFL teams expressing interest in his client. 7 NFL teams. There are currently 7 NFL head coach openings, including the Ravens. So again, I think 2 things can be true. Beanie says we don't care, nor should you. But I think what we all need to acknowledge is that he just vaulted within the hour to the most coveted candidate in this year's hiring cycle like that. And so just because it had run its course in Baltimore doesn't mean that ultimately he won't be a very, very, very important and sought after candidate over the next couple days and weeks as teams try and make their decisions moving forward. What happened in Baltimore and what led to the demise in Baltimore is what you see up on the screen in games decided by 5 points or less under John Harbaugh's watch, not just this year, but historically. They were not good enough. They deviated from their DNA. They lacked consistent execution. Game management and clock management became a problem. And over time, that leads you to disturbing trends like what you see up on the screen right now, to the tune of a 45-61 record in such cases, in games decided by 5 points or less. Back to the guest lines we go. Again, trying to get as many voices in here as possible on what is a historic day in Baltimore. Justin, welcome to the program. Your thoughts?
Hey, thanks, Bobby. I'm going to go against kind of what what I'm hearing, and I see this as an opportunity. If you think back to Michael Jordan and the Bulls, and finding that Phil Jackson for Michael Jordan, who's going to be the Phil Jackson for Lamar Jackson? That's the way I see it. I think you can write the defense. I know we need to do that, but I think you can do that with the defensive coordinator. I see it as an opportunity. Who's going to be the right person to mold Lamar Jackson into a champion? That's all I've got.
I love it. You got 30 more seconds. I'll leave you here. And you know what? Like, this has happened before, and it'll happen again after this. Super Bowl winning head coaches that ultimately they run their course. And this tandem, this Lamar Harbaugh tandem had run its course. And now, to your point, it's time to go find that Phil. It's time to go find that Steve Kerr. It's time to go find that Andy Reid.
Yeah, totally.
Thanks for the call, man.
Thanks.
Appreciate you. The guest lines are open. Great call there from from Justin. Beltway 95 Sports, you ready to roll? Come on and share a thought, brother. Join the program.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're actually you're vertical right now. If you want to go horizontal, just so we can see you. But give us your thoughts tonight.
Yeah, like I said, having the connection with the team. Like I said, my uncle's captain defense, and it's the first thing. It's the first thing I actually did since he passed away. But the writing been on the wall since last year. We talked about this, and being around the team. I'm not gonna say the players' names, but being around certain players, the atmosphere has changed. This was a make or break season, and this is already on writing on the wall. The team just doesn't feel right, and even though Harbaugh has many options to go to, it's just we need a reset button with the team, the culture, the coaching staff, and of course we'll get new players coming in next season. But this has been right on the wall since last season. This was a make or break season, and Coach Harbaugh, I've talked to him several times. He seemed like a great person, but I think, like I say, just he has ran his course in Baltimore, and it's just a new atmosphere.
Well said, brother. Thank you for the time today.
Thank you.
Beltway's on his way out. Judah's on his way in. Talk to me, brother. You are live. Your thoughts on a historic, monumental day in Baltimore. John Harbaugh is out after 18 years as the head coach, and Steve Bisciotti now tasked with finding just the fourth head coach in this organization's history. Your time starts now.
Yeah, man, it's bittersweet. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought I'd feel differently about John being out. I just think that, it was with him. I don't think he's as competitive as he used to be as a younger man, because he seems to be okay with mediocrity. If he finds another head coaching job, good for him. But I think it's best where we at. And I appreciate you for letting me know the next candidate I'm rooting for, which would be Saleh, because from what I understand, San Francisco has had a solid defense for as long as I can remember, right? But also, one thing that's important, let's not make the same mistake we made with Mike McDonald by letting the defensive mind get away from us. Bringing in Saleh, because I heard somebody else say, bring in some type of offensive guru. Honestly, Lamar doesn't need an offensive guru, because he himself is a guru on the field. He just needs a competent offensive coordinator. Let's move Tez Walker. Let's move away from Bateman, move Tez Walker on the field. Give him a head coach that's a defensive mind, and watch the Ravens dominate. That's why I'm at with it.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate the call, my man. And I was hoping that the chat could help me here with a poll in real time. So first of all, we're going to let you go, Judah. And let's go back to this screen right here. You guys are watching. This is what you can't possibly prepare for something like this to solo host, but you're watching me in my best form. This is why you sign up and go out on your own and do something like this. We have 9,000 concurrents across both platforms right now. It's an honor for you guys to be here tonight with me, given these circumstances. It certainly is bittersweet if you are a fan, or perhaps you're just rejoicing knowing that change is here now. It's not on the horizon. It's not years away. Change is here right now. Thank you for being with me. If you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. I'm 4 years running into this content space in the independent side of things, and I'm thrilled to have you here with me as we open up the guest lines and try to do our best to justify the magnitude and the gravity of today's news. Help me finalize the poll before I go ahead and post it. Who are you hiring to be the next head coach of the Baltimore Ravens? 3 names that I want on this, and I need help with a fourth, and I want you to help me out with it. Robert Saleh, option 1. Flores, option 2. Minter, option 3. Who do you want me to put in as the fourth, so we can see what the popular opinion is, what the voice is within the live chat? Help me out on the fourth. I'm seeing Clint Kubiak. I'm seeing who else? I think Clint Kubiak would be a good job to finish and round out this fourth option. I'm going to go with Kubiak. And I know obviously there's going to be a lot. And hey, you can make your case in the live chat if it's none of the above, right? Go ahead and do that. But for now, these are my 4. The poll has been posted. Go ahead and make your voice heard in there if you could. Back to the guest lines, and I want to make sure, because I continue any chance I get to reach out to folks, both past and present, that have been involved with the organization, to get them on the show. I'm asking a lot of different people to come on the show. So I'm going back and forth on checking my phone and text and seeing who's down there in the waiting room. So appreciate your patience today. And I'm also taking a look at the timeline to make sure that all this content is fresh and up to date. Nate says it's amazing. Folks want a guy whose in-game management is well documented. Blown more double-digit leads than anyone in almost 40 years. Epic collapses, that is, and poor coaching choices like wanting a hernia. Board certified DJ says, Bobby, it's your Super Bowl today. You got this. We're 90 minutes out from hopping on the collective with Jeff and Cole. There will be content, and I better get Uber Eats online right now because I have no food in this house, and I'm not leaving anywhere between now and the next several hours. And after the collective, I might come back on live just in case you guys want to continue to talk through this. Manny, come on in the program, brother. Join us.
What's going on? Hey,
All yours.
all me.
Take
I'm
it.
celebrating. I'm celebrating with you because now I got a chance to apply to be the new head coach.
This is your day, isn't it? This is your day. Hey, we have a lot of new voices in here today. For those that are not familiar with the program, Manny has been calling and labeling himself in my waiting room as the interim Ravens head coach for a long time. So today is your day. Take it for the next 30 seconds and rejoice.
All right. On all seriousness, I want either Clint or Flores. Just because Clint will unlock Lamar, but Flores will bring that old culture, that Ray Lewis, that Reed culture, back on the defense. And I know it's a long shot. Tom Brady, either as a head coach or either as a head coach, offensive coordinator, or even GM, because he knows how to recognize talent.
Thanks for the call, brother. Appreciate you. He is currently the minority owner in Vegas, so that's not going to work. And he's also leading their search. I saw. They let Pete Carroll go earlier this week. Wolf says Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph is getting a ton of traction around the league. He's interviewing everywhere. Perhaps the Ravens will take a look at him. It's important to remember that the last time the Ravens were involved in a key hire, it was Todd Monken, right? And they casted a wide net. Now, granted, Zach was the hire after him, but you know what I mean. A very important hire. Not that Zach's wasn't important, and they got it wrong with Zach, by the way. But Todd's was extremely important. They talked to anybody and everybody that year. And I suspect this won't be any different unless Steve Bisciotti has a hand-picked candidate that's been in his mind and been in his vision for a while. Back to the guest lines we go. As I quadruple task, I appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. Over 9,000 concurrents certainly is a new goal. When I say goal, new achievement that's never been reached in the 4 years that I've been running this channel. So thank you for being here. Joshua, welcome to the program, brother. Talk to me tonight.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to just sit here and say for a second that this will be the first opportunity that Eric DeCosta's had to hire a head coach. Yes. The last head coach, Harbaugh, was Ozzy's selection. That said, I'm glad to see that we're moving on, that Bisciotti made the choice to move on from Harbaugh. It was time. The 13 years consecutively without doing anything significant in the playoffs is an issue, is a problem. The people I want Brian Flores hands down, number one, and we can bring in a awesome guru offensive coordinator. Only thing I don't really understand about this whole process was I don't know what Bisciotti or the front office had issues with Todd Monken, because I thought he did a really good job expressing his ability to play dial it up late in the game.
Yeah.
Against the Steelers. Because we scored all the times we needed to, and he put us in position to win the game. That's all. That's all I got.
No, thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Ultimately, it's crazy how things come down to, my gosh, inches, right? In professional sports, in the NFL. If Tyler Loop makes that kick and doesn't push it wide right, are we having this conversation a week after a letdown in the wild card round? Are we having this conversation after the divisional round? is this conversation not being had at all and they make a deep postseason run? The AFC is wide open. No Mahomes, no Burrow, no Lamar. Folks calling for John Gruden, who's been out of the league for quite a few years, made a splash in the media world. Folks calling for John Gruden certainly would be an offensive-minded hire. David Rice weighing in. Flores' end at Miami was not good. I'm okay with Saleh as head coach, with Clint Kubiak as offensive coordinator, but my vote is Kubiak as head coach with his brother at offensive coordinator. We need that West Coast offense. The Kubiak family, rich with NFL history, no question, and obviously no stranger to the Ravens organization as well. Just to reiterate something that Adam Schefter noted earlier on, John Harbaugh has emerged as a favorite, as a top candidate for the New York Football Giants, who, of course, are trying to replace Brian Dable, who they fired in season. And now, more importantly, from your perspective as Ravens fans, next up is John Harbaugh. Meaning next up is finding John Harbaugh's replacement, his successor. Nate Slattery says, I want an offensive mind because our best player is LJ. But if we choose to go defense, I'd like a strong look at Kelvin Shepard or Belichick as a wild card. Flores was universally hated by players but knows ball. Nate, here's the problem. Bill is 73, 72, 74 years old and has a 24-year-old girlfriend that I wouldn't want walking around my program and my campus and my building. Just kidding. Got nothing against Jordan Hudson, even though she seems like a miserable human being. With that said, you need somebody that wants to be and can be a part of your organization, at the helm of your organization for the next decade. That's not Bill Belichick. Dark Thunder 35 says, simple. Steve never forgave Harbs and Monken for the 2023 AFC Championship crash out. Only 6 carries to the running backs that game. One of the many pieces of evidence of underperformance in high leverage moments when the whole world was watching. Back to the guest lines we go. 60-second timer of the essence tonight. Richard, talk to me, brother. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Bobby. I'm gonna try to be quick, but I got a lot of things that I gotta get off my mind. Number one, I gotta apologize to Steve. I talked a lot of shit about him for the past couple of weeks, saying that he should sell the team if he decided to keep Harbs next year. And I was dead ass serious when I said it too. I wanna, I would say, even though I had the feelings I do about Harbs, thank you for Harbs for, being the coach. It is 8 years overdue, but thank you anyway. He's a good coach, borderline on a great coach. It's overdue. For me, I would want either Brian Flores or Robert Saleh. I would say either those two. I mean, the other guys was talking about the way that he just, Brian Flores destroyed the Lions. I think that he would get the defense back to what it was. What I really like about Robert Saleh is that you brought up, defensive coordinator for the 49ers. They have Fred Warner and they have Bosa out this year, and they're still doing some actual damage. So it's clear that he knows how to utilize talent, and he's under the Shanahan tree. So you're talking about. I'm also considering. Okay, you put these defensive coaches. Who the hell are you going to put on offensive coordinator? Brian Flores. You could have T. Martin be promoted up to offensive coordinator. So there's that option. So I like that.
To remember here is that folks that are wondering what are the futures of Orr and Monken, they're gone. They're gone. When a head coach takes over his program, it becomes his program. So unless a head coach comes in that likes those members of John Harbaugh's staff, like ZO might end up with John in New York for all we know. They're gone. This is a complete overhaul. It's a reset. It's not a rebuild because that would suggest that players, the entire organization is no. Like that's not what this is. It's a reset and it's a complete rebranding. And with that comes a new staff, a new leadership, a new voice at the top.
And then
closing thought, Richard. Be quick. Closing thought.
I'll be real quick. John Harbaugh with the New York Giants, I think is actually going to be a great fit. They need an organizational change. They need a culture change. They have players. I would love to see that person. I would be really interested to see what they do next year. That'll be it.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Guest line access is open on a historic night. Over 9,100 concurrence at the moment. Captain writes, I still don't believe it. Lamar needs to be in the decision on the next head coach. Think Steve talked to the players and realized the message grew stale. Diana Rusidi noting earlier today that a key pressure point in the John Harbaugh dismissal, according to those familiar with today's discussions that she spoke to, was his refusal to entertain any conversations about potentially moving on from offensive coordinator Todd Monken, which certainly begs the question, how much, if any at all, influence did Lamar Jackson have in this entire decision? Reporters noting that Steve and John deliberated and met, and even in Steve's statement, talked about the conversations that were had and how difficult it was. Maybe that wasn't on the statement, but in the reports from Jordan Schultz. And ultimately, this was not a mutual parting of ways. And that is what's undeniable when you read the two statements, which I will do again, just in case you're just tuning in now. Jack and EB, both of you have your camera off. I'm happy to have you on, but I won't bring you up on screen until your camera is on. And so since they're both off right now, Maurice, come on in, brother. You've been waiting. Come join the conversation. Your 60 seconds starts now, my friend.
Hallelujah. Sorry, I had to get that out. I called it before the season was over. Harbaugh was going to be on his way out the door if the season goes awry. And that's exactly what happens. Now, if you've been paying close attention to this Ravens team under John Harbaugh, it's like they have been treading all sorts of the wrong direction, like from the 18 double-digit leads blown over the course of 18 seasons to having a 48-61 record in games decided by 5 points or less.
45.
Truth be told, 45-61. My apologies. But truth be told, the writing was been on the wall, even like after the 2018 season. It's like I've called it, and this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that Harbaugh's time has run its course. Now, in terms of the coaching candidates, I would like Brian Flores as a head coach. Now, offensive coordinator, on the other hand, it's like I haven't decided on that yet. But like, I wouldn't mind Brian Flores as offensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator, there's one name, according to multiple reports, that the Ravens have been eyeballing, and that being Chris Shula. Chris Shula, who is currently the defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams. I absolutely wouldn't mind bringing him on board because this Ravens defense, they have to take back their identity. It's like their identity has been nowhere to be found since Zach Orr took over as defensive coordinator. So if we want to get back to our winning ways, it all starts with an organizational reset.
Thanks, brother.
That's all I got for y'all.
Appreciate the call tonight, Maurice. The guest line is open if you want to share a thought. An organizational reset indeed, and certainly one that is consequential. The decision that now Steve Bisciotti is faced with moving forward. A decision that will be the fourth head coach in the history of this organization. It's been an organization of stability. It's been an organization of continuity. It's been an organization of consistency. But obviously, as we all know, it's been an organization of underachievement dating back to the Super Bowl over a decade ago. Craver Tom writes, it's about time. There was no scenario where the fan base doesn't melt down over another double-digit loss lead or an early season home loss against an inferior team. He had to go. Pop Punk Cowboy says it's a blessing, really, that we get to start looking for a coach now. Thanks, Pittsburgh. Get a defensive coach. Head coaches that call the offense tend to give that up after a while and lose their job, i.e., Dable. Captain writes, I still don't believe it. Lamar needs to be in the decision on the next head coach, and I already read that. Ziad writes, Bobby, check out the Ryan Ripken. Kohler is there right now. I can't do both. Captain writes, if he wasn't going to move on from Todd, he also wasn't going to move on from Zach Orr as well. Todd wasn't the issue, though. The Ravens productions team and their Twitter account have just posted a thank you graphic for John with the Super Bowl Lombardi trophy in hand, saying thank you, Coach Harbaugh, for 18 tremendous years. Bittersweet indeed, but one that I think is being received as you would expect. It was time. But I echo those sentiments from the team. Congratulations to John Harbaugh on a tremendous 18 seasons, and best wishes to him moving forward. Ocean08 says, excited for this news, but the fact that Harbaugh thought he would run it back with Orr as defensive coordinator next year, yeah, I would fire Harbaugh too if I was Bisciotti. Brian says, now when will Tomlin be out? We'll see. We will see. Back to the guest lines we go. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. If you could continue to like the video on your way in or out so this gets to as many folks as possible on a historic night covering the Baltimore Ravens. GK, it's good to see you, man. Welcome to the program, dude.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Talk to us tonight.
I'm going to try and make it 60 seconds. I danced. I called my dad. And I've said this, if John Harbaugh loses his job or gets fired or whatever, one name, and it was brought up in the chat that I brought up, was Eric Bieniemy. And the reason I said this was because he coached under Andy Reid, and he knows a lot of Andy Reid's plays. And that's something that the Ravens really, really need now that we have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you know this. You know Eric Bieniemy played in the league as a running back?
I do.
Yeah, he played for the Cincinnati Bengals way back in the day. So that can really help out Lamar and really unlock his abilities that defenses and teams won't be able to see. So I think that's a name that will really get us, that'll get us going in the AFC and will make us a threat going forward. But that's my thoughts. And thank God that was under 60 seconds.
Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate you for sticking by it. Let's get an update on the poll. A lot of respect for Eric. That would not be my pick. Respectfully. That would not be mine. I do want to get an update on the poll. I threw 4 names in there about 20 minutes ago or so, and we're approaching 800 votes. So go ahead and make your voice heard if you're interested in weighing in. Brian Flores is at 58%. Robert Saleh is 19%. Clint Kubiak is 16%, and Jesse Minter at 7%. So just 20 minutes in, but so far, the early favorite is Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores. He's played the Ravens very tough over the years, particularly during his time in Miami. Certainly. When the Ravens just could not find an answer for that cover 0 blitz. Back to the guest lines we go. Kyle, you ready to roll? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to roll, Kyle. The guest line is open, and we are instantly reacting to John Harbaugh's dismissal. Not a mutual parting of ways, but a dismissal in Baltimore after 18 years. Your thoughts tonight, Kyle?
What's going on, man? Can you hear me?
I can.
All right, yeah, man. So I told my buddies this year before the season started that this would be John Harbaugh's last year. I think when we look in the ASC and we see guys like D'Amico Ryans, Andy Reid, Sean Payton, all these guys that specialize in something as a head coach, I think Brian Flores is the easiest guy to pick. And I think if we go to the playoffs and teams see Brian Flores as our defensive coordinator, I think they're going to be extremely nervous. I think Lamar as far as offensive coordinators, we've had 2 offensive coordinators that Lamar has thrown 40 touchdowns with. So I don't think our offensive coordinator is our biggest issue. I think our defense is the biggest problem. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate the
Yes,
call
sir.
tonight. Guest lines are open. You guys can help me instantly react to what we now know is official. Over 90 minutes ago, Steve Bisciotti made a decision, one that he referred to as a very difficult decision, and that was moving on from his 18-year, second longest tenured head coach. John Harbaugh is out. It was a decision that Steve Bisciotti himself made, and based on the statement released by John, it was not a mutual parting of ways. Torrey Smith, noting that Harbaugh is a hell of a man and coach. He had a great run in Baltimore. He will easily be the top coach in the market. Torrey goes on to say, great corporations make tough decisions to move on from qualified leaders when the ultimate goal isn't met. It's just business. And that, from a Ravens great and a Super Bowl champion, Torrey Smith. DITBC says if history is any guide on Bisciotti, he's going to look for a 40-something, even-keeled, works well with others head coach. It reads of Saleh or Stefanski. Flores is controversial. Bieniemy is 56. Sir Golf a lot says stay far away from Flores. Too much behind-the-scenes drama. Bisciotti has shown a desire to pick dark horses and no drama. It should be Minter or Saleh. Robert is my pick as I continue to process this. And that brings me to an update on the poll, which still is heavily in favor of Brian Flores as we approach 900 votes in that poll. 58% of you are hoping that Steve Bisciotti goes in the direction of Brian Flores. Steve will have the ultimate say, but I would imagine that Eric DaCosta has a role when it's all said and done in this hiring process. So too will Ozzie Newsome, perhaps even Sashi Brown as Ravens team president. Back to the guest lines we go. Help me instantly react to this. There is a 60-second timer strictly attached to your commentaries tonight. Julian, welcome into the program, brother. Your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I was one of the ones that didn't think this was going to happen. Because they're a close knit group of seeing now every all these reports that you reported on, with the Todd Monken thing being the reason why they parted ways. It was odd. But I didn't think Steve Bisciotti was going to do that. But he just had probably said he had enough, and it's so many wasted seasons after the Super Bowl win. I'm gonna go back to that. So many blown leads, so many poor coaching decisions that led up to this moment. And it just came to a head today. So I wish John Harbaugh nothing but the best. By the way, I had no ill will towards the guy. I met him when I was working down safe management at the stadium before. So never had no ill will towards him, but this had to happen. We need a culture reset. We need to get back to what made us fall in love with this team, and that's defensively. And then obviously now you have an MVP quarterback. Need to get back to getting to a championship. We need that. That's what it is. We have the roster set. We just need to plug in a few holes here and there. But all in all, we need a coach that's going to be the one that's be aggressive, that's going to get this team to where they need to go to.
I love the sentiment, and I think there's a lot to like about it. And hopefully Steve Bisciotti agrees with you, because ultimately they got to get back to what made this organization one of the most revered, not just in football, but in all of professional sports. Appreciate you, Jewel. Thanks for being here. Just a week or two ago, John Harbaugh was asked to address his job security and the idea of that, given the underperformance. And he had this to say with reporters on one of his Monday weekly press conferences.
Talked about, you were asked about job security last week and if you expect to be back next year. A lot of people are going to maybe look at this game, probably unfairly so, as a kind of referendum between yourself and Mike as the 2 longest tenured coaches in the league. And I'm just curious if you feel that at all and kind of just how you view that generally.
Yeah, I really don't have the space for that. You know, it's just not something that you have the ability to think about. It's not important. It was important. It had an impact and a bearing, you know, then I think you'd think about it. But you think about it because it's always that way, you know. So it's probably all that stuff makes it all kind of interesting and kind of fun and real. It's sports, you know. That's how sports are, and I think that's part of the intrigue of it all. So I feel like really honored to be a part of that. And if I was just being honest with you, I feel really honored to be a part of it. And I know there's always pressure. There's always pressure, but you know. I think it was Billie Jean King who said pressure is a privilege, right? Was it Billie Jean King who said that? You know, and that's something that is earned, you know. So, you know, we feel like it's something very worthwhile to be in games like this. And if those are the things that are being talked about along with that, that's okay. You know, that's a privilege too. So let's get to work and let's go try to play our best game. Try to coach our best game.
Wow. How things can change in a week. John Harbaugh addressing job security leading into Ravens Steelers. So many were talking about whoever potentially came out on the losing end between the longest tenured and second longest tenured head coaches might end up on the chopping block. And while clearly there were a lot of conversations, a lot of deliberation, you name it, all throughout the day at one winning drive between team owner and head coach, ultimately the team owner made a decision. And after 18 years and just a week after addressing his job security point blank with the local media, John Harbaugh is out. Someone who has been all over this story, kind enough to spend a few minutes with me, just as she did in New Orleans last year. And gosh, everywhere else I run into her in the NFL offseason, which we're probably only a month away from getting back to Radio Row. And that is friend of the program, and NFL insider Josina Anderson, who's joining me in a pinch. So great to see you.
Yes, you got to excuse the sunglasses. You know, I'm in my house. I don't feel like putting myself together. I got like 5 people asking me to come on their shows. I rarely do this. I barely even do my own show. Because I'm tired. Listen, I've been doing this 24 years, okay? Phone just be going off. Y'all be wearing me out. All I want to do is be on Netflix watching Culinary Class Wars. The last 3 episodes just dropped on Netflix at 3 a.m. I haven't even had a chance to do that. I just ordered my chicken piccata and my noodles, and now all this stuff got to be going on. And the funny thing is with this Harbaugh stuff, as I was trying, it's like I was kind of intimating, but I guess not really. I think I was tiptoeing around. But you know, I'd been known that he had interest, you know, from other teams and things like that. So I think that today was really just about whether Steve Bisciotti was going to have the kahunas to do it, you know.
And Joe, for that and a whole lot more, we will be quick.
No, you don't have to be quick. I have the next show. I think I'm jumping on in Miami in like an hour and a half. So we can talk. It's just when my food gets here, I can check my Uber Eats. But go ahead.
Okay, because I think everybody's extremely, 18 years is 18 years, and as you have been on top of, I think enlightening folks within the Ravens fan base, because you have the unique perspective of covering this from 1,000 feet up, all 32 teams. And when you're in it the way fans are with their respective organizations, you just don't have the same type of viewpoint. So can you please first start with the decision that ultimately was made by Steve Bisciotti, what this means for John Harbaugh, and how you felt like this came to a head today?
I think that John Harbaugh felt really, good about just his tenure as a whole. I think John Harbaugh felt, really good about the respect, from the locker room. One of the lasting images, obviously, is of him walking off the field with Tyler Loop and being, cognizant to be mindful of, an impressionable player and young rookie that is going to go through something that's going to stick with him for the rest of his lifetime. I felt bad about it. I mean, I even felt compelled to write a tweet about it because, even though I was not a professional, still a D1 athlete myself at Carolina, and obviously, or just as a person that's just gone through life's ups and downs, I'm definitely not no actress or anything like that, just a journalist. But some of my obviously my career arc is in the public too, and so I just know what that feels like, and I feel bad for him, and I was glad to see that John Harbaugh was so cognizant of it. So with that in mind, and just I feel like having that perspective relative to what I feel like is his outlook. I think the exact way that he started off his statement today is exactly what it was.
Correct.
Is in terms of like, listen, John. I have so much respect for John. And you see the statement right there. I can't see the words. I mean, you can read that top part, Bobby.
Yeah, and you know what it is, Joe, and I've read it many times for our audience, so we'll continue to go and roll forward here. But what's clear and obvious, to use NFL officiating jargon, is that when you read Steve's and you read John's, it's pretty obvious this was not a mutual parting of ways today.
Yeah, I again, John loves coaching. He just I can't I have which I have a lot of respect for people across the NFL, but I have a lot of respect for John. I just have a lot of respect for him, what I've seen him do with the coaches that he's brought in there, the opportunities that he's provided, the relationship that he has with Lamar, his ability to, glue players together with big time personalities, star personalities. I was there at every point, through the reporting of everything that was going on with Lamar's contract. When he was not a what you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? It's the
non-exclusively
not thank you,
franchise
not
tag.
thank you. I see the E in my head, and I'm like, what's the word I'm reaching for?
You think about that Uber Eats dinner, aren't you? Over there?
Exactly. I'm like, it's not Uber Eats, non-exclusive, franchise tag that was placed on him, and I remember because I was even in I think it was Arizona we were in when the news dropped like a minute before John Harbaugh sat down, and then Lamar had, dropped the whole thing about wanting to be traded. And I watched him handle that so professionally and just moving forward, and all the players that he's coached, and the way I respect that he can have a locker room glued together. But at the same time, if a player need to be told what time it is, there's John Harbaugh is not afraid to talk to a player in this day and age. And trust me, I think people can tell I know what coaches I feel like can handle that and can't handle that. And John Harbaugh can hang with the best of, the entire spectrum of players out there. So I just have high respect for him. I know he was going to be highly coveted, which is what I was trying to allude to the fan base when I wrote that. And I said, pay attention to this part. I mean, I can only say what I can say. And then look how it just come to fruition today. So,
hey, Joe, can you backtrack for a minute here in terms of what you were hearing yesterday regarding the coordinator level change? Because this obviously went from folks thinking that Monken, being that he was garnering a ton of interest, both at the collegiate level, as you reported, and at the NFL level, as folks reported today regarding Cleveland's vacancy, it goes from the fan base thinking that perhaps they're looking at the successor of Monken to now it's going to be a completely new rebranding, completely new staff overhaul here.
And again, I was trying to allude to things that I was hearing with the tweet that I put out, and I just wrote staff changes. Yeah. I mean, I think, one thing I always think about, and I'll get to your question here, but I just want to say this too, like, I'll go from like, maybe tweeting a few times a week. And then now it's like, I'm tweeting 30 times a day. And a lot of that is intentional, because it's like, you hear a lot of things. I remind fans, these things just don't happen overnight. And you try to be respectful. At the end of the day, this is people's jobs, it's livelihoods. And I'm not just talking about Harbaugh, I'm talking about across the board. And so now that the gate is sort of up, things that myself as an insider, that I know other insiders knows, we're going to be a little bit more, forthcoming with things that, we're hearing, because we're just in that season. But relative to your question and this, the other coaches, yes, it's just like, as I tweeted, that's what was going on, earlier today, as I understand it, conversations out there, conversations going on in the building, rather, with, coaches. And then obviously at some point, the conversation took a turn to where, this conversation happened with Steve and what have you. But my understanding is, as you would expect, through the last, since this game ended, and that's typical with exit meetings, that you got to assess the building. And my feeling was that it was known that there was going to be a change. It was just a matter of how much and how many. And I would say, I still was like, man, is he really, because again, it's like, as I explained, I'm trying to like talk clearly and not be in my head at the same time. But it's like, because I have such respect for the culture that he's built, I know that's a weighty decision for Steve. And I saw a lot of fans talking about, well, the culture was there before John, and then 18 years is a long time. And if you've done it before, you can do it again. Yes, but as someone myself who's also I've been covering the NFL as long as, even longer than that period. This is my 24th year. I've also seen situations in which organizations have changed and then they don't get back up to that level for a while, so and that's what and I'm not saying that because that's what it's going to be, or I'm bestowing upon Baltimore as a city and a fan base. I interact with a lot of fan bases, even though not everybody, is always nice, but by and large, I have, a big, respect for the Baltimore fan base. And I was just trying to say that, I want you to zoom out and just take a look at the big picture, because nothing is guaranteed. And sometimes it takes time. And then you zoom out and you realize, we go through a year, or the second year or third year where now it's 500 and below. And then all of a sudden it's like, damn, you look on the outside looking in, trying to get back into the playoffs. And it might take some time, even if you get, as I would expect, the Baltimore Ravens is a first class organization. Lamar Jackson is how I feel about Lamar, first class, quarterback. It's a great job. It's a great opportunity. I would expect nothing less for them, but to get, a top-notch coach. That being said, transition is transition and it takes time. So,
Joe, let's get you out of here on this. I have a poll up for the YouTube audience, and we got a big show. We're coming up on 10,000 concurrents watching us in real time right now.
Oh, great.
And friend of the program, NFL insider Josina Anderson, on her way out here. The poll right now has over 1,000 votes. And I asked the audience 37 minutes ago, who are you hiring to be the next head coach of the Ravens? And right now, 59% of the vote, comfortably in the lead, is Brian Flores. 18% say Robert Saleh. 17% say Clint Kubiak. And 7% say Jesse Minter. 2 questions for you on the way out. One, if you were subjected to that poll and I put you in a box and said you have to choose one of those 4, 1, who's your guy? And then 2, let's say you weren't, you didn't have that strict regiment that I'm giving you. Outside of those 4, would you have a different answer for your next head coach of the Ravens?
I think that's a great list. I think all of those personalities, would fit. I got respect for everybody on that list. I don't know Mentor personally, but I'm sure he's a great coach, or just, somebody that I, talk to, often. Somebody's blowing up my phone.
Nothing new.
I was like, but I couldn't pick. I would actually turn the question back on you, and I would say, you're the one that's there. You got a deep, fan base for your show. So what do you think best fits? And are you guys okay with somebody that would be defensive minded, as long as they're potentially just, an overall leader?
Saleh is my pick.
And why?
They need to reestablish, to what you're alluding to right now. They need to reestablish what made this organization one of the most revered in all of professional sports, and that's their defense. They need to reestablish the culture. They need to reestablish physicality. They need to reestablish everything that the Super Bowl title was built. Both Super Bowl titles were built on. Obviously, the 2001 more so than the 2012 team. And I think he deserves another shot. Both guys deserve another shot at the head coaching position. And maybe this is the hiring cycle that they get exactly that, Joe. But you are a busy woman. You're the best. I look forward to seeing you in San Fran, if not before. And
And
anything.
who knows, keep your eye on Pittsburgh, Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter and Aziz Al-Shire and those boys going to come in there too and try to, lay, foot to what. And so, Baltimore still has to get out of that the Pittsburgh Steelers still have to get out of that round. And we'll see, what Tomlin's own feeling about his situation is there, but after their postseason trek. So I think it will definitely be interesting to see that as well, and if there could be any other further influence or shift in this carousel season.
You know it. You've been all over this, as this tweet shows and suggests up on the screen. This was well earlier related to Todd Monken. We'll see if he ends up staying in the pros or going back to the college ranks, but you can be found as always on X at Josina Anderson. Thank you so much for the time. This was totally impromptu and spontaneous, and I appreciate you, and I can't wait to see you and catch up soon.
All right, guys. Have a good show. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Josina Anderson, on her way out, kind enough to help me break down what we've been instantly reacting to for close to 2 hours now, and that is the fact that John Harbaugh is out after 18 years at the helm in Baltimore. Back to the guest lines we go. Johnny Williams, 60 seconds and 60 seconds only. Be concise, speak with conviction, and talk to me. How's everybody feeling almost 2 hours into a new era in Baltimore, even though the actual official era has not yet begun? That it won't begin until Steve makes his decision. Johnny, welcome to the program, brother.
What up, Bobby Baltimore? I appreciate you, brother. Number one thing, what's her name? Josina Anderson? She is fine. What is she doing? What is she doing for herself? She is too fine to be looking like that. No makeup, nothing. Okay. But it's a celebration, Bobby. It's definitely a celebration for Baltimore, man. And I'm not hearing his name. Why ain't I hearing Eric the Enemy? I think he would be a great fit for us. I think just his mentality itself will be a good fit for Baltimore. What you think about that? Because he put it like this before you put in. I want Kansas City Chiefs. They was almost like button up to a T when he was there. When they leave, that's where you all these fumbles, all this, all that. Patrick Mahomes can't do X, Y, Z. So I'm thinking maybe he could do good with Baltimore. Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate you, bud.
Thanks, Johnny. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the live chat in response to your thoughts on Josina. Oh, sweet Jesus. Look, I think that there's a level of, like, to me, when a player is passed on by teams, for example, how about a Ben Cleveland as an example? Ben cleared waivers, and ultimately the Chargers brought him in. This was after the Ravens release last week. The Chargers signed him to the practice squad. But that meant that 31 teams passed on him, right? 31 teams said, nah, I'm all set. Eric Bieniemy has been passed on as a head coach in this league. He's been interviewed, but ultimately passed on. Same way for Todd Monken up until this point. He's had several interviews, and it looks like Cleveland is the latest. And remember, it's important to remember from a fan perspective that just because John Harbaugh is out doesn't mean that the rest of the staff is safe. The next head coach brings in his staff and sets up his program, and the reset is on. Eric Bieniemy's been passed on. I think there's a reason for that. Hope he gets an opportunity. But my vote would be Saleh. My vote would be a defensive-minded, tone-setting coach that can reestablish the brand of Ravens football, and somebody knows a damn thing or two about that brand because he's got a chip and a ring and a perspective. Just popped up into the waiting room. We'll bring on Super Bowl winning Raven, Femi Ayan-Badejo, in just a minute. Let me make sure that I'm fully caught up in Super Chats. Suntan Superman MMA says you don't need a defensive-minded coach for a top defense. Billick was an offensive guy. We need to find a leader of men who holds people accountable. Physical Poetry writes, the next head coach will need to be able to handlebarsing the voice of the Ravens, right personality for the city, the press, and the players. Rose says, why Flores? Because a cool last name? Give me Saleh or Steph, meaning Stefanski. Duval Micro says, yeah, no more Buddy Moore Ravens. He also writes Bill Belichick and Lincoln Riley as the offensive coordinator. He'll be fired. Joseph Burton writes, EDC tried to get a fifth for John. Back to the guest lines we go. We have officially reached the 10,000 threshold in real time. 10,000 concurrents at the moment. And I lean on perspectives like our friend Femi Ayambadejo on nights like tonight. It's certainly a bittersweet night. And it's a night that now has Steve Bisciotti prepared to make a consequential decision that will really take shape and set the scene for the next decade plus. At least that's the hope. If you want to continue the continuity, consistency, and excellence that the Ravens have strived for 30 years and counting. Welcome, brother. Your thoughts on a historic day after 18 years. As you know now, 2 hours ago, we learned that Steve Bisciotti himself, as he said in his statement, made a decision to send John Harbaugh off to his next opportunity, and there will be plenty. Adam Schefter and a number of others noting that he is instantly the top coveted, most sought-after candidate in this year's hiring cycle. But on a personal level, I'd imagine you'd probably around to react to this. Their first being that you have interned and worked under him and know him personally.
Yeah, it's definitely bittersweet. I'm not disappointed. I'm sad, but I'm excited. All emotions can be true, even if contradictory. But I think I just have great respect for John as a man, as a leader of men, recognizing the underachievement, recognizing that the Lamar era hasn't, bared the fruit that we probably think at least one Super Bowl at this point we probably believe in. And we look at the opportunities and the chances that have slipped through our fingers for numerous reasons. And I think I made a statement when you and I and Sarah had spoken numerous times, and I've said this on, my podcast with Dennis Pitta at 98 Rock, and I've said it at 105.7. Anyone that's listened, I've said, look, if the Ravens don't make the playoffs and they finish the season with a losing record and no AFC North title, I'm not going to stand in the way. I'm not going to pound the table. I'm not going to scream and yell. Whatever happens is meant to happen at that point. And so looking back on it, I can say it was a hell of a run, a Hall of Fame run, a Ring of Honor run, a lot of fun, a lot of records, some titles, some achievements that no one's ever done. No coach has ever won a playoff game in his first 5 seasons, but his first 5 seasons was a long time ago. You know what I mean? And so with all that being said, I'm excited for him and his future and where this leads his family. He's going to be a head coach. He can have any job he wants. He could have a future like Andy Reid. He can go on to win Super Bowls somewhere else and achieve amazing things. And, we could potentially have reach the mountaintop like Philadelphia did, when Andy left and they brought a new coach to Philly. They've won 2 titles and, Andy's went on to Kansas City and created a dynasty. So I think the future is bright and optimistic for everyone involved. It's painful. All breakups are. But I think that it's kind of shocking that I'm saying this. I understand it. I agree with it. I don't think I could have said that until after this game on Sunday night, though. I needed to process it. I needed to really level myself and be honest about what was going to excite me. And so here we are. And let me just say this. I've been listening since you went on. Cliff Kingsbury does not excite me. I've seen that experiment in Arizona. I don't want to see that here. People talking about Tom Brady and all this other stuff. Come on, man. Let's keep our feet on the ground and our head out of the clouds. What are you talking about, bro? John Gruden is interesting, but I think his time has passed. But man, he's a leader of men and he's a brilliant offensive mind. I just don't know if he's in the right headspace or this is the right job for him. The people that excite me are Clint Kubiak, Brian Flores. Absolutely. What's this about Brian Flores? It's got a cool last name. Brian Flores is a Super Bowl champion. Brian Flores has been part of one of the biggest and greatest dynasties in NFL history. Brian Flores has a winning record as a head coach. Brian Flores is a defensive mastermind. You don't think him and Lamar would vibe? I'd love to have Brian Flores as a head coach. I would love to have a X's and O's head coach, no nonsense, kick ass, take names, and reinstill who we are. We are ass kicking, fearless, shit stomping, kick your ass, tell you about it, talk shit, pound our chest, and let you know. That's what we need to bring that back. You know what I mean? That needs to come back. And if that's a defensive head coach, man, I'm fucking here for it. Fucking here for it. Now, I'll say this. A part of me would also love a young Ferrari of an offensive mind coordinator, young offensive coordinator, like Clint Kubiak. He comes from the Shanahan-Kubiak line. He understands offensive systems. He is rooted in the run game. I would absolutely love that. And I think Lamar would vibe with that. Part of me also feels, and I've floated this already before, Bobby, if Mike McDaniel gets fired from Miami, bro, Mike McDaniel and Lamar would absolutely vibe. Mike McDaniel as an offensive coordinator with Brian Flores as a head coach, that would be an insane matchup and pairing. It would bring all the mystique back, I promise you. Now, that's my wish list. I don't know if that's going to happen. And look, I know we're not in the experiment world where we're going to try out new coaches that have never been a head coach. I do love the coach from Notre Dame. I think he's a leader of young men. I just don't want his first head coach stint to be with the Ravens. Like, you got to jumping in the deep end like that with this team and this history. Now, if you hit, he'll be here for 20 years. If you don't, he'll be out in 2. I just don't know if he's ready for that. I know that he has the moxie and the intelligence, and Notre Dame is no joke either. But this is not Notre Dame. This is Baltimore, Maryland, man. Like, it's a whole different universe over here. So I'm excited, man. It's bittersweet. And I think you had a caller that called in earlier, and I was really feeling what he was saying. I don't remember what his name was, but he was really dropping some knowledge. And I remember he said he was bittersweet. And what struck me was that he said that I thought I was going to feel different when we got this news. Like, I thought I was going to feel some excitement or something, but it's bittersweet. He was kind of bummed. And then he went on to talk about Brian Flores. And I know you were talking about Saleh. My issue with Saleh is that from the people that I know that saw him coach, I got the sense that he's a great defensive coordinator. Now, he'd be a great defensive coordinator for sure. From observation and conversations that I've had, and I know some people that were in the front office at New York, by the way, and you could probably go do some digging and see who I know. But my point is that there were things about his management of the team, not the defense, the team, and some of the disconnect in the intricacies of being the head coach, like the CEO stuff. Now, maybe he'll be better at it again. I never want to say that you give somebody one shot and then you don't give them another shot. But Brian Flores has done it already, and he's from the Bill Belichick tree. So for me, like, I'm telling you right now, if you make me choose, I'm going Brian Flores as the head coach, and I would love Mike McDaniel as a coordinator. Clearly, and you've heard the story too, Coach Harbaugh stood on the table for Coach Monken, and you already know how I feel about Coach Monken. I love him as an offensive mind. I just don't think he's the right coordinator for this team. It's all good until it's not. And I've seen too many cracks in the play calling, the usage of personnel, the decision making, that yes, he got Lamar 2 MVPs, probably should have got him a 3rd, but winning MVPs is not winning Super Bowl titles. And when it came down to the nuts and bolts and the most important decisions, I don't like the decisions that he made. I've already told you that. And everyone that listens to the Vault knows that I believe he's a thrower of the football. I don't believe he's a natural runner of the football. And him as the coordinator for me is like having Coach Harbaugh as the head coach. There was a disconnect on the most important decisions at the most important times. And keeping him here, to me, with a head coach that's defensive minded, I don't think you're exercising the demons that we need to exercise, in my opinion. So I'll stop there for a minute, bro. I hope everything I said was cogent and made sense, but that's my vibe. And I say it with respect and love for what these guys have done. And I'm very confident that they're all going to go on to do other things. The one thing I'll say is this about Zach Orr. I would love for them to keep him as the linebackers coach. I would love for him to stay on board, because I think he's so young and he's so good. He's a born and bred Raven. If there's a way to keep him on board as a position coach, I'm for it. But that's going to be probably the head coach's decision that they hire.
Yeah. Look, first of all, everything's been exceptional. You're doing this in a pinch. It's bittersweet. Everybody's processing this. It's not hitting for everyone, maybe as they foresaw. And obviously, change is significant. It had almost been two decades. And this was a coach who brought a Super Bowl title to Baltimore, as you can see in the graphic that the Ravens Productions social media accounts released, with a thank you. Gave them 18 years. Took a chance when all 31 teams weren't going to, on who they've built into a generational, transcendent quarterback with the 32nd overall pick in 2018. So many went on to have tremendous success under John Harbaugh in other organizations, whether it be head coaches and Mike McDonald or coordinators and assistants. Most recently, Anthony Weaver, Denard Wilson, so on and so forth. Those names are countless. But ultimately, I think there is a level of had this run its course. And when you read the statements that were released within the last 2 hours from Mr. Bisciotti and from John, it becomes extremely clear, abundantly clear, that this was not a mutual parting of ways. And for that to have ended in that fashion, I don't think anybody saw that coming or would have ever predicted that right now. Let's get an update on the poll. And I do have to run here in a second, so I'm going to give you one more kind of chance here to dive in and offer your tremendous perspective. The collective is in 40 minutes from right now with Jeff Zaribek and Cole Jackson. And after that, it's that kind of night. I'll probably be live again into the wee hours. We'll see what tonight brings. With over 1,200 votes and counting in the poll that I put up 56 minutes ago, in terms of who you out there in my audience is hiring as the next head coach of the Ravens. Brian Flores leads the pack by a comfortable margin, 60%. 17% of you want to take a flyer on Robert Saleh. 16% of you like Clint Kubiak in Seattle. And Jesse Minter under Jim Harbaugh in Los Angeles, 7%. Fem, you just mentioned it. I'd like you to expand a little bit more on it. When you read Diana Rossini's stuff, when you've had the conversations that you've had, I'm sure, throughout the organization, this right here screams something that you have been, in a lot of ways, saying without actually saying it for a long time. And I'll read it for those in the audio space. Diana wrote, a key pressure point in the John Harbaugh dismissal, according to those familiar with today's discussions, was his refusal to entertain any conversations about potentially moving on from offensive coordinator Todd Monken. I am beyond fascinated by this, and it suggests and begs the question, was Lamar Jackson's influence a part of this? And was that dynamic not perfectly stitched together?
Yeah, you know what's funny is I was on WBAL earlier, and I'll be on there again later. And one of the things that I was very careful about is that I hope Lamar had input, but that's behind closed doors. I think tomorrow's Lamar's birthday. I think he's going to be 29 tomorrow.
Correct.
And we do not need to put any pressure on our MVP quarterback, nor do we need to put anything out in the open about his feelings. I don't think that's fair to him. He's a young man. I know he's an 8-year veteran, going to be a 9-year veteran, but he's still in his 20s. He's a young kid to me. You know what I mean? And the last thing we need is more people from the fucking, wherever they live under trash cans and bins talking more shit about Lamar and blaming him for shit that he has nothing to do with. You know what I mean? And if Sarah listens to this later, Sarah, I'm sorry, but it's me and Bobby. I feel like I got to cuss tonight. I feel like I just got to let it out.
Inside the vault right now, baby. We're in the vault.
Oh, we're on the vault. Okay, we're on the vault. That's right. Okay, but we're with the Trosseteers, right? We're with the Trosseteers. So here we can be free. We can be free here. So that's what the fuck I'm talking about, though. Like I just don't think we need to put any more on Lamar. Lamar has been a soldier. He's been an ambassador of the community. And as I've told everybody that'll listen, when I go to schools, when I go to universities, when I go to businesses, anywhere I go, the first person people want to talk about is Lamar. He is beloved by everybody. And I think he's done enough, you know what I mean? So I think that behind closed doors, I hope he has his imprint on this a little bit. I hope he's able to sit down with these potential candidates and see what kind of vibe he gets. And I know it's hard to get a really good vibe with somebody in a 1 or 2 or 3 hour conversation, or even a couple day, meeting and going on a couple dates. It's kind of hard, right? But it's on brand for Coach Harbaugh to stand on the table for his guys. You know, Bobby, you've been one of the probably loudest people when it comes to Coach Harbaugh's loyalty to a fault. to people sometimes, right? I think it's a fair assessment as well. But I think that's what makes Coach Harbaugh beloved by the people that work with him and work for him, is that loyalty. So I look, I'm going to say it out loud. I didn't want to say this yesterday because no decisions have been made. I'm ready to move on from Coach Monken. And I know that the numbers and the achievements that Lamar's had and the offensive success, I hear all that. Trust me, no one understands the analytics and numbers more than I do. But at the most important moments, with the most important calls, and by the way, he got them right on Sunday night. He got them right on Sunday night. No doubt about that. But there's been too many times before Sunday, whether it's the AFC Championship game, whether it's the usage of Keaton Mitchell, whether it's some of the play calling and the leaning on the passing game way too much and abandoning the run, whether it's not putting Derrick Henry in against the Patriots. And I know that's probably a collective decision, but he's coordinator. And I just think that inherently and philosophically, he's a thrower of the football. That's not what we need here. We need a quarterback. We need an offensive coordinator that understands a high-level passing game, but knows that we play defense and we run the football. And we use our quarterback and our running backs to do so. And we use play action when we need to. And then when Lamar needs to go full Lamar mode and put the cape on like he does Sunday night, then we let Lamar go and do that as well. But he has to be protected. And I don't know who made all the collective decisions. It starts with EDC on personnel. It starts with coaching and keeping guys in and not replacing guys with Harbaugh. And then also the coordinator has some blame there in regard to never switching out the guards. I think I've seen enough from Emory that I think he should be at the very least, the starting right guard next year. You know what I mean? So yeah, those are kind of my final thoughts. It's bittersweet. I'm sad, but I'm also excited. And I think a lot of folks that follow, the Bobby Baltimore channel and the Vault. I think I'm not saying anything that I haven't kind of said already in so many words. But I think we're all collectively as a whole probably excited for the future. And I know you are. I know that this is kind of what you envision and what you hope for too.
I think it's time. It's time. And we all wish John well. It was an honor to cover him and his program. I got my career started in broadcasting, entrenched right in the peak, in the beginning of Lamar's era in Baltimore, dating back 8 years. I got a chance to know you on a personal level, and Dennis, and so much has changed in my life because of the coverage that I've had a chance to do over the last 8 seasons of his organization. And I know darn well that Steve Bisciotti is going to make a decision that allows that continuity, that framework, and what's allowed his group to flourish for 30 years to continue to do that into 2026 and beyond. So this will not be the last time that you and I talk about this. This will not be the last time that we have you on. This is just the appetizer, and buckle up, because they cast a really wide net the last time they had a really important search, and that was Todd Monken several years ago. And I'm talking about a wide net, several of which are head coaches right now, including Dave Canales in Carolina. So this is going to be really interesting to see how he handles this. It'll be Steve's decision at the end of the day. I'd imagine that Eric will be involved. Sashi Brown will be involved. Ozzy's always involved. And we all wait and see until then. So, Fem, let everybody know what you got coming up the rest of the night, where they can find you and what you have on your docket.
Yeah, you know what? I won't plug anything right now. I'll be probably on WBAL here and there. Maybe I'm a free agent, right? So I'll probably be on the Fan here and there as well. And, I'll be around. And, of course, I'll be on the show with you guys, too, as long as you guys will have me. Yeah, so I look forward to talking with you guys throughout the offseason and throughout the playoffs.
Hell yeah. Thanks for doing this in a pinch, brother.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Great perspective from the Super Bowl winning Raven, Femi Ayambadejo. He's always kind enough to spend some time with us. This whole episode 2 hours ago was going to be about Todd Monken and the interest that he was garnering throughout both the collegiate and pro level. Cleveland wants to hire him, or wants to interview him for their next head coach. Now there's no request needed. There's a completely new staff and an overhaul happening in Baltimore. We'll see where Todd Monken ends up as a result of today's events, that after 18 years has John Harbaugh now a free agent. On the other side of 60, Blogger writes, I want the Steelers to fire Tomlin, so we hire him. Brad writes, go get John Gruden. We need grit and an offensive mastermind. Soho says, I watch all Ravens shows and appreciate what you are pulling off tonight, Bobby. I am getting all the news I want on this story right here. Well done. I appreciate you, Soho. And there will be more coming up in 30 minutes time inside the collective with Cole and Jeff. Patman writes, if we get Brian Flores as the head coach, I would like I would like a guy like Drew Cronick as the offensive coordinator. He is the OC for Navy. I like how Navy's offense looks under him. YNG Bruce says, Trosseteers, stand up. And Nick Marty writes, Ian Rappaport just said that one of the reasons why Harbaugh got fired is because he lost the locker room. Fired is because he lost the locker room. I've seen that. That's popped up on my timeline. I haven't had a chance to watch that yet. I will be going live after the collective tonight, assuming that we don't go into the wee hours. Back to the guest lines. You guys have been waiting patiently for me. We had Josina on, then Femi came on. It's turned into a phenomenal show. And right now, there are over 11,000 concurrents and counting. If I could just pause for the moment and tell you how grateful I am and appreciative I am of a very special moment. 11,000 plus concurrents watching in real time. I've been 4 years running in this independent space. It's taken everything, every fiber of my being to build this, live off of it, sustain it, and hopefully continue to scale it. So if you're here right now, thank you. I would encourage you to come back throughout this process. We do year-round Ravens content, both inside the vault with Sarah Ellison and here in my channel, the Bobby Baltimore program. Back to the guest lines we go. If you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership as the offseason begins. Jawan, 60 seconds on the clock. I got 28 minutes to go until the collective begins. Let's be on time, on task. Your thoughts on a historic day in Baltimore?
Yeah, first of all, Bobby, I want to say congratulations. You and Sarah both do a good job with this, man, covering the team. But I hate that Femi came on because me and him are always on the same mindset. And I'll be quick. I think how they say teams get the identity of their coach. I think after 18 years, John Harbaugh had flushed his identity through the whole program. It's John Harbaugh written all over the program. You know what I mean? And I think the head coach is in that war room when you're drafting. And on the vault, y'all talked about how he kind of shies away from nasty players that's a little toe the line. And he's nothing against being into your face because we all should be. But, you know what I mean? You need somebody as a head coach, a leader that's in those meetings, which we don't get to hear what he's saying. But as a player, you know the kind of stuff that's being said that they don't say to the media, you know? So I think we need more nasty, like Femi was saying. We need that nasty. And so
great stuff.
And then, yeah.
Great, brother. And thank you for the flowers. I appreciate you. And I think a lot of people can lean into what you're saying. And as Femi noted, and as I've mentioned many times, it's time to reestablish, reinstill, reinvigorate what's made this franchise for 30 years running what it is. JJ, appreciate you. Rico, you ready to roll? Let's get you on, brother. Over 11,000 concurrents. You better come ready to go, baby. Everybody's looking at you. A lot of eyes. Rico, welcome to the program. Your 60 seconds starts now.
What up?
Your thoughts tonight, my man.
Yeah, my thoughts pretty much is I agree with a lot of things. So I feel like I appreciate what John did for us, but yeah, I mean it's you gotta have balance on the team. It's yin and yang. So, he was the good guy. You gotta have the bad guy. With the Super Bowl team, you had Ray Lewis, you had Air Reed, people that keep accountable.
Oh, where'd you go, Rico? Rico gone. Duvall, welcome to the program, brother. How you doing, dude?
Good, brother.
Set your clock right now. Rico had some connectivity issues, so you are live, my friend. You got a fresh 60 seconds. Your thoughts on this is a momentous day from a Ravens perspective. Give me your
I'm
thoughts.
beyond surprised, Bobby. I've officially termed them the Baltimore Ravens because I think everything is. I'm surprised he made that decision based on how things always stay so internal and they go down to the bitter end. But I don't think Bashotti makes this call unless he is almost very assured that he has the next person he want in mind. You don't be that successful at business and the different endeavors that he's a part of just making knee-jerk reactions. If he didn't have an idea who he want and felt like he can get that person, I think he would have give John a little bit of a shorter leash, but he still would have kept him on a leash.
Steve has not gotten to where, to your point, Steve has not gotten to where he is without good business.
Mm-hmm.
And good business comes with continuity, consistency, structural framework.
Yes.
It's allowed them to win a lot of games over the last 18 years, almost 2 decades.
And if John has been in that position for 18 years, what's the name is just ain't gonna just start making haphazard decisions, impulsive decisions. I think he's very calculated. Even when he speaks, he's extremely measured. Yeah. So and a lot about who you are as a person comes across in your disposition.
Yeah.
And he kind of mirrors that with who he is as a businessman and now as a team owner.
Thanks for the call tonight, brother. Appreciate you.
Yep.
Duvall on his way out. Rico, you ready to go? Round 2. Let's see if we can get your connectivity down. Your 60 seconds. Round 2 starts now. Talk to us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Sorry about that. But I was saying, with the Super Bowl Ravens, we had players that would keep other people accountable. So with John demeanor, he's not that type of coach, I feel like. So when you got like guys like Terrell Suggs, I feel like he probably was one of the last guys that probably would do that. As the years go by, you have a lot less of those people that's going to be coaches on the field. So right now, I feel like probably Humphrey is probably one of those guys that might do it, but we don't have a lot of that. So if the coach can't do it, I feel like the players need to do it. So, I mean, we don't have those kind of players right now. So I feel like we would need that coach that, is going to hold people accountable and make the hard decisions that need to be made. But, I thank Harbaugh for what he done for us. But yeah, it's time. It's time.
Where'd you vote in the poll out of curiosity that I have in the chat?
Oh, I'm definitely, I feel like Flores would be a good one.
Okay. Over 1,400 votes and counting, 1,396 to be exact. And he is the clear front runner at the moment, 60%. 16% of you both think they're interlocked at 16%, I should say, is Kubiak and Saleh. So we will see. Rico, thanks for the call tonight.
All right. Stay blessed.
Appreciate you. The rest of the waiting room, EB and Brendan, are you here? I got to go and get ready for the collective. But if you're here, I'll get you in quickly. I'm going to go live again tonight. It's that kind of day in Baltimore. Brendan's camera is not on, so I got to kick him. And EB, are you with us? You on here, EB? Your thoughts tonight. You don't have to boycott the season, my brother.
Yes! Let's go! And tonight's gonna be a good motherfucking night. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Oh, I'm so happy. Now, I'm so glad. I love things. Because we have the exact same idea. Man, bring in Brian Flores as the head coach and bring in Mike McDaniels as the offensive coordinator. Do you know how fucking dangerous that would be? And falls as the defensive coordinator, just go in college. Top 3.
Oh,
Let's go, man. Let's go, man. It's a new
Never
day.
change, EB.
It's a new
Never
day,
change,
and
brother.
it's ready to be a whole yeah.
Never change, my man. I got to go get ready for the collective. Great final call. You are hysterical. We'll do it again tonight, EB. Look at you, mid-Amazon shift. Never change, EB. That guy is unbelievable. If you're in the waiting room right now, I am 21 minutes out from going directly from over 2 hours straight of content directly into the collective. I will come back on later. If you're waiting, I'm sorry. I've had to get as many people in here as possible. And I have to say thank you to Preston Automotive Group for the continued support of the program. At Preston, Bobby Baltimore subscribers get access to 2 exclusive offers. That's $500 towards a new or pre-owned vehicle. Or when you buy 4 tires, You'll receive 50% off your alignment. You can check it out right now by scanning the QR code in the upper right-hand corner. So 2026 is here, and if you are in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle in the new year, I would love for you to go check out Preston. There's 3,921 available vehicles for you in the inventory section, and they are all throughout the DMV, not just in the Baltimore area. They're everywhere, and you can break it down, your search process, by price, vehicle condition, year, make, location, dealership. Take a look at all the different dealerships, including Ford of Millsboro in Delaware. It's brand new. My home dealership when I'm in the Baltimore area is Preston Ford West off of Liberty Road, for those of you that are familiar. So thank you to Preston Automotive Group for the continued support of the program. You can scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner and follow them on Instagram at Preston Automotive Group to learn more. One more super chat from Jail Dog 1971 who says, Bobby, please allow me to hand you your flowers, sir. You and Sarah have built a very powerful brand on this platform. It's very impressive. Congratulations. Thank you very much. I'm humbled by that super chat, and I'm humbled to have over 11,000 concurrents watching me in real time, 2 hours plus into this organization, into this live stream. And the collective is 19 minutes away from beginning with Jeff and Cole. So what the plan is tonight, that we're going to go as we always do on Tuesday at 8 o'clock Eastern. We're going to go live on the collective here shortly. What I'll do is I'm going to drop that link into the live chat right now, and you guys can come join us for insider perspective from Jeff, the best in the business. I'm going to go ahead and drop that into the live chat right now. Eileen, that chat link is in the live chat. Would love for you guys to join us. There's going to be plenty to react to. And before I go, I'd be remiss, seeing how I see his name in the chat, I'd be remiss to not mention Steve Loop, father of Tyler. Steve, thinking of you, my friend. Tyler is going to weather this storm. And as Derrick Henry said earlier this week, God would not have given him this stiff test if he didn't feel like he could handle it. Best wishes to you and your family throughout this time. I'm wishing Tyler, his fiance, you and Mrs. Loop the best. I know it's a very challenging time. It's an exciting day in Ravens history. It's a bittersweet day in Ravens history. I look forward to Tyler's ability to be able to say it was a minor setback for a major comeback, and I'm of the belief that he absolutely has a bright future ahead. So wish you the best. Thank you for being here, given the circumstances, and thanks to all of you for spending the last 2 hours plus. If you're in the waiting room, we will be back later on. I will go live again later on, but come join us inside the collective. If you haven't already done so, this is what the channel looks like right here. And I just dropped that link into the live chat. Here it is. Go to the live tab. It's at Ravens Collective. And here it is. 33 people already waiting so that we can instantly react to John Harbaugh's dismissal after 18 years as the head coach in Baltimore. Join the Discord group if you haven't already done so. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. I'll drop that link. There's over 1,100 members and counting. Here's that link. Just drop that into the live chat. You can follow me on Instagram as always at Bobby Baltimore, and that's where you can find me on Twitter as well. A lot of you have asked how you can donate to the program outside of the super chat end of things. A great way to do so is through Venmo or Cash App. Nothing is ever expected. Anything and everything. Always appreciated. And I will have commentary coming up on Instagram when I can formulate my thoughts. Here is that link as I just unload you with links. There's that in the chat. Another super chat on the way out from Physical Poetry, who writes 2012, 2015, 2020, and 2025, all playoff coaching failures. Good coach, outcoached by average coaches. Big game failures is his norm. So, guys, more to come in the Discord, more to come on the collective tonight, and more to come when we get back inside this channel, including the Vaults coverage tomorrow, 15 minutes out from the collective. Hope to join you guys there. at 8 o'clock Eastern. Appreciate the support. I'll see you a little bit later on tonight.